Hello, welcome to my channel. Want to do a video here today on severe back drag before and after and how to fix it. And many of you out there have children or players that have severe back drag or have some kind of back drag. And I believe this video will help you at least start the process of helping your player to start getting rid of bad drag. This video right here, the reason I'm using it, I worked with a student several years back, and he had very severe bad drag. I've had many students that have had bad drag, but the reason I want to use this particular former student is because he did have pretty severe bad drag. And I'm going to show you the after in a little bit here, but it is very common and it can be fixed. I'll show you the technique that I use in order to help you, to help your child, help your player, or help yourself. I really think it's going to help you. So I just want to kind of show you again, this student right here, what he was doing when he first came to me. I think this is the first time I ever had a chance to meet him. His dad brought him to me, and we were just trying to see where his swing was. Okay, so basically he was setting up and then he was going back too far, and then he was doing what a lot of players do, losing their load. He was out of sequence. Okay, he was just losing his load, out of sequence, getting into overload. You can see how far he's leaning back, and then from there he's dropping the lead elbow. It doesn't go up to the height of the mouth, therefore creating a very flat bat, and then kind of slapping at it. Okay, this is very common, and I see parents getting frustrated with their kids, and it's not something they're really doing on purpose. It just kind of feels natural for a child or for a player to kind of hit like this. It's kind of more of an arm swing and dragging. Again, look at the lead back elbow kind of dragging through just like this. Okay, and again, with the lead elbow falling down, it creates a lot of slaps. Okay, so this is bat drag right here. So I'm going to show you here the after, and I'm going to show you what I did to fix it. And if you follow this video and work with it with yourself, your child, the player, I really think it's going to be able to help you to start the process. Okay, so let's get started on that one. All right, so basically what I did is I told him, let's get the arms very relaxed. And I said, let's have the hands between the arms and between the neck and the deltoid. And before he had his hands pretty low. What I always tell my students, I don't really mind if your hands are high. Okay, I don't mind if they're what you would see a lot of players around the armpit, or even if they're low. Okay, as long as they're between the neck and the deltoid, I just want the arms to be really relaxed. Okay, and again, after this particular lesson here, I continue to work with him. Eventually, he dropped his hands a little bit more. But anyway, at this stage right here, this is after, again, working with him. I think it was about a year later. This is a video of him about a year later, if I can recall correctly. And so anyway, what I did was I had him set up just more with the arms very relaxed between the neck, between the hands between the neck and the deltoid. Okay. And then from there, what I told him, I said, let's get your body to be more upright and more tall. So he was standing much better, and his eyes were really focused on the direction, whether he was working off the tee or whether I was doing soft toss or pitching to him. I said, let's have everything focused like if you're staring at someone from the side. And that's exactly what he did. And that's what I would recommend for any student that I'm working with. Another thing that I did is I told him, I really want you to keep the weight inside the inner thigh, inner ankle, inside the instep of the back foot. And the reason why, he was moving all the way too much in this direction when he first came to me. If you look back at the before video, and his hands were way over here as he got into his gather, and his body again was moving over in this direction. He just kept moving this way. And I told him, let's minimize the movement going back. I don't want to see a lot of movement going back, because as you start to face elite pitchers, you're going to have to minimize that movement. And that's exactly what we worked on. So I kept the weight. I told him, keep the weight inside the inner thigh, inner ankle, inside the instep of the back foot. And he did a beautiful job of we did a job of working through the process of doing that, and he did a great job of implementing everything I asked him to do. Okay, and that was crucial to get the setup correctly in order for his body to work correctly. Okay, now from there, what I told him was, as he starts to lift his leg, I wanted him to kind of get the feeling of his tailbone working kind of in a rotational way towards the pitcher. Okay, I wanted to kind of be working towards the pitcher as he lifted his front leg. Okay, and the reason why is, well, a lot of times when players start to lift their leg, they want to work in this direction towards the catcher, and everything kind of sways in a kind of a lateral movement towards the catcher. What I like to see with my players, in order to minimize that movement going back as they lift their leg, you're getting into that back hip socket. Okay, you want to do that. You want to transfer your weight into that back hip socket, but simultaneously, as you're doing that, your tailbone is kind of working towards the pitcher. Okay, so you can see here what he's doing right here. As he starts to do this, you can see here that he's loading up into that back hip socket. Okay, but at the same time, as he's getting into the gather, you can see that his body is starting to transfer towards the pitcher, not working back like it used to. Okay, another thing I would recommend for you to do if you want to get rid of bat drag, notice his arms. As he's right now at the setup. Watch how he's not doing any pullback at all right now as he gets into the gather. So right now, basically all he did is just lift his front leg, got it back into the back hip socket as he's starting to rotate his tailbone towards the pitcher. There's no pullback or anything yet. Okay, and that's what you don't want to do. In other words, his shoulders started in the same manner as they are right now. Okay, in other words, they're not closed like you would see at toe touch. Like if you notice in the video on the before, he was very, very close, where his shoulders were pointing almost to the second baseman as he was into the gather. And this one, he's doing it working it very nicely, where all he's doing is basically just transferring his weight. Watch where his shoulders are. All he's doing basically is just dropping into that back hip socket at the gather. The shoulders are still pointing as they were when they were at the setup. That's what I recommend for you if you want to get avoid bat drag. And you can also notice here, he still maintained the integrity of the back leg, where in other words, his knee did not go way over here like it did in the video before that I just did for you. Okay, so very good job right there. So I would just set up, and I would just get your body and just get into the gather very quietly. Now you can see right here at this stage of the swing that his palm is kind of facing in this way. Okay, so that's what you kind of want when you're in the gather. In other words, you don't want it pointing down yet. Okay, now as you start to transfer your weight with your top hand, you want to pull back. Watch how he's pulling back, and he's also notice how his palm is kind of pointing this way now. That's exactly what you want to do if you want to fix bat drag. You want to start like this, where the palm is kind of facing kind of the pitcher. And from there, as you start to get into your toe touch, you want to pull back with your top hand. Pull back with your top hand. So as you get into toe touch, now you want your palm pointing down. So it went from this way to the setup and the gather. Now it goes from that to go pointing down as you get into your toe touch. Okay, what that's going to do, if you're pulling back and you're doing like spilling the cup, and if you are putting your palm down, that's going to allow your back elbow to get a lot of resistance, a lot of torque, a lot of pullback. Now, if you watch my videos, you would know that I like to see kind of a shoulder to elbow look. Okay, and he has a beautiful shoulder to elbow look. You don't actually have to have that perfectly like that. Some players, what they do is they'll have, and I'll just go ahead and erase this, they'll have kind of a look where they have the shoulder to shoulder, and the back elbow will drop a little bit like this. Now he happens to have it up here like this, which I prefer, but some players have it here, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, perfectly fine. But I don't like it when players get to the toe touch and their elbows way down here. That means you're leaking your load. You're losing a lot of potential for power. Okay, so beautiful job right there. Another thing is he's very balanced. If you look at the before video, he wasn't balanced. If you go straight down from the neck at toe touch, he's landing at 60% of his height, but very symmetrical and very balanced. That's what I would recommend for you for you working with your child. You want to just make sure that as you're striding, you're landing very balanced, almost like you're working downhill, and you're landing 60% of your height. As you're pulling back, and the back elbow, the back hand is pulling back as the palm is facing down. Okay, that's just beautiful right there. Now, another thing now that I would highly recommend, this is what's really going to help you with the back drag, is when you start to get into your hip rotation. This is crucial. As you get into your hip rotation, you still want to be pulling back with the top hand. Okay, pulling back with the top hand, you still want to keep the hands back. Okay, so right now he's at toe touch. Okay, and there's where his hands are. As you start to get into your heel plant, you notice that his hands are still staying back. What you see with a lot of lower level players, their hands are either right here or even right here. Okay, that's what starts to happen. But the reason why his hands remain back is because he's applying the pullback still, and he's still applying that top hand torque why his hands stay back. But watch what's going on right here. As he gets into his move, immediately as he starts to rotate the hips and as the lead elbow starts to work up at the height of the mouth, immediately the top hand goes from pointing downward. Now you can see that it's pointing upward. Okay, now this happens very quickly. It's not something that's done slowly, but when you start working on it at home, all I would highly recommend for you to do is over and over with a top hand, pull back, and then just get from palm down to palm up, and that's your hips rotate. You want to pull back with your top hand, and again, it goes from palm down to palm up. The lead elbow works up to the height of the mouth. Okay, the lead elbow starts to work up to the height of the mouth, and what I would highly recommend when you stop with the lead elbow working up to the height of the mouth, this is what I do with my students all the time. I tell them, let the lead elbow work up to the height of the mouth, and right there, you can see where his lead elbow is. This is where his mouth is right there, is working up beautifully to the height of the mouth. So basically what you're going to have as you get into the point of contact, and this is what I would do with my students if I was working with them, I would just have them have a very vertical bat hitting balls like this, and you would want to have what's called a hitter's box like this. Just hit balls like that, okay? And then once you master that, I would have them get to full extension right here. You can see how he's getting to full extension right here as the lead elbow starts to work up to the height of the mouth. And you can see here, it's just a beautiful, beautiful extension right here. So he went from what he was doing before to having a full extension, barrel below the hands, hitting with a lot of power and hitting off a front axis, where if you do a line from all the way from his logo to his belt buckle to his shoelaces, it's just a beautiful, beautiful just front axis right there that he's just hitting beautifully. Look at this right here. He just did a beautiful job right here. And let me fix this computer right here. It's kind of going a little bit haywire on me. Let's see if we can fix this right there. There we go. So anyway, you can see here that he just does a beautiful, beautiful job right here of executing the everything I asked him to do right here. Just a beautiful job. Let me just get this right here to stop for a second. My apologies for that. And anyway, again, as I just mentioned, everything I just said, just start with a good setup with the weight inside the instep of the back foot. Just be very relaxed. As you're getting into your gather, you want to make sure, again, that as you're getting into your back hip socket, that your arms are very quiet. Getting into your back hip socket, you're not doing any pullback yet. And again, as you get into your gather, you want to use your tailbone, okay? It's almost like it's simultaneously as you're getting into your back hip socket, the back hip is working towards the pitcher. And again, as you stride, you want to palm down. And then as you're starting to get into your toe touch and your heel plant, you still resist, you're still pulling back, okay? And watch what's going on right here. Again, now this is beautiful right here. Watch what happened to his bat drag because of the pullback. It's very obvious, even at this stage of the swing, that his back elbow is behind his hands, okay, behind his hands. Earlier in the video that I did, his back elbow was immediately creeping underneath his hands. Now watch what happens to his back elbow as it keeps going. The back elbow is either behind his hands or in line with his hands, behind his hands or in line with his hands. This is just a beautiful slot right there. And watch how the hands work around the corner of the deltoid right there. Everything is beautifully lined up. So if you look looked at him from pitcher's view right here, his shoulders and his lead arm would be, for looking at it from a pitcher's view, in perfect plane, allowing his body to work in a beautiful, just a beautiful rotation and a beautiful axis right there as he starts to get lead elbow works up to the height of the mouth, barrel below the hands, as he gets to full extension, hitting to a full extension. And watch this beautiful follow through where I taught him to do the top hand release like you see Miguel Cabrera and a lot of pros doing, gives you more range. And look at this, look how he releases everything, and it's just in a beautiful orbit. So anyway, again, I just wanted to do this before and after, and I hope this tutorial helps you to start getting rid of the bat drag. And one thing I want to say is when you do this, the main thing I would highly recommend is just do that heel plant drill I told you. You just want to do it very slowly and methodically. So when you're at this stage of the swing, still pull back with the top hand, okay? You want to keep your hands back. Your palm is pointing down at toe touch, and immediately you want your palm to be pointing up like this as you start to rotate the hips. Just do this over and over and over and over. And again, eventually you're going to start getting rid of the bat drag where your elbow's going to stay behind your hands. It's not going to creep underneath you. And it's key that as you start to do this drill, you want to exaggerate the barrel below the hands, as your lead elbow starts to work up to the height of the mouth. And if you go to full extension, all you want to do is literally hit balls like this, where both your arms are fully extended. Just hit balls like this off the tee with the barrel below the hands until you get used to extending those arms with barrel below the hands. And then from there, after a while, you master that, you will naturally start to release the bat in a beautiful orbit like this, where everything will be working in an upward orbit, having great launch angle, the opportunity for a greater slugging percentage, better home run percentages, everything will improve. Please give me a like if you enjoyed this video. Go to 209coach.com if you have any questions. Thank you so much. And please subscribe to my channel. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much.